monumental garden.
It's been quite a while now since I've been driving this Bruno bicycle, and the major frequent problem is the friction shifter of this bicycle. But amidst all of that, it didn't hinder us from going to kilometers and miles of rides, but with different hacks that we managed to pull through along the way. And with this very particular issue of the friction shifter that needs to be addressed and to lessen the headache during rides, so we tested it and put up a lot of grease inside of the friction shifter, because this one is a very old sunrace friction shifter. But just to spoil the fun ahead and to really rub it in, this hack really didn't help and worked at all, for several reasons. One is inexperience and lack of research, and actually many more issues would come out later as we test and ride this bicycle. Notice how much we applied grease in this particular part of the bicycle, which is, I think, not advisable at all. So there's a separate video also which we test newer pads with an old rim, which holds better if it's an old or a newer rim with an old brake pads applied into it. Notice how much worn out this rear rim is versus the front rim, which is quite new, but we installed it with an old brake pads, and also the rear brake pads will be installed with a newer one, and compare it later in the ride. But back to,
I was riding this morning and my shifter isn't shifting, and when I shifted it like this, it will go back on its own like that, so there is no friction. And I remember that I put a lot of grease into it, so now maybe I'm thinking while pedaling that maybe because of the grease that I put a lot in there, I will try to remove it. Because from the word friction, I suppose that it shouldn't have to be repacked with a lot of grease. So I already took off ample amount in there, and there you go. There's a lot of grease still in there, so I put it there so it is easier for me to so somehow from the word friction shifting, it means it's relying on its friction. So grease is not a friend, probably. I'll make a research later when I get back home. So now I'll try running it this way without a lot of grease. So removing an ample of amount, this can ease a little bit of the situation, probably, hopefully. Let's leave some of those in there, but this one right here has a lot of it. This one right here has a lot of grease, I remember, because I really soaked it with grease when I installed it, because I thought that adding grease to these parts would help the performance, but I suppose that I made a mistake. So now it is clean, but I think that the main problem here is that there is no bearing in this side right here, and the other one, I hope it's clear in the camera, but there's a small ball bearing right in there that's been holding it. In here there's none, so probably that's what is keeping its performance so poorly. But still, I'm going to test it or put it back again. I removed some of the greases that's been applied. Now return the rest of the parts. Here's the lock ring, and also the bolt. I really hope that it's going to perform better this time. Golera grip, torquing it. It's already bent a little. Oh man. So let's test it.
and so voila, it's actually not working at all. But the immediate thing and the best thing that I could think of that time was to remove this orange string, this stretchable thing that's holding my face mask, since I'm not using it while riding, and then tie it around the lever, the shifter lever, and just to retain whenever I'm shifting to a different gear. It would retain for a while, but it's not helping whenever I'm climbing a steep hill. And since the string is stretchable, it is now tightly tightened in the frame and in the friction lever, so there's a little chance for me to shift it to the lowest gear and to the highest gear as well. So this issue poses a great deal of limitation for me as a rider, and also for this bicycle to function to its maximum capacity. Now the best solution is to change this friction shifter once and for all. I was able to procure this relic from a local bike shop here in our area, and this is quite old. This is only the stock that they had over the years, and I was lucky to have this, but some issues as well with this, even with this new item that I have bought. And one particular issue that I have observed is that I received a mismatched bolt and screws, which shouldn't be this way, supposedly, as I look and browse through the internet over sellers and different posts from the products, from the similar products which I got, is that it shouldn't be like this. It says the otherwise from, say, for example, over this photo that is posted, and some diagrams also that has instructions on how to install this set of lever and screws, and it's clearly stating that it should be paired and it should be the same for both sides. So I got this product wrong, and the bolt that is included are not paired. But the set, aside from that, fits well, doesn't have any problem at all. But not this one though. And it would only create this huge bulge and misproportion. It would look horrible, unlike this one, which is quite flashed and quite fitted for this build. So another loose part is this washer, which I've figured out basically. And another one, there's an inclusion of this weird small washer, which I'm trying to figure out where it should be installed. It could be here on the other side, but it's really not helping even with this inclusion of this Phillips bolt and screw. So I'm trying to avoid this at all, because referring to the diagram and pictures on the online post, it's really not part of it. Now I'm trying to remove the entire string, which was just for temporary fix during the ride in the road. Now as I remove this lever, I'm trying to recall the mistakes that I've made. It's a wrong decision to put a lot of grease in there, or to over grease. And now I'm comparing the two products. This mount is, the sunrace on top is quite huge. This one is small, so I doubt at first that probably how or would it fit, but it just need a little push. And that's the thing with newer products, since the sizes for the down tube shifters and mounts are pretty standard, which means that it could fit throughout different models and brands as well. This is the Shimano SR400, which is equivalent to the Sora during those days when downtube shifters and friction shifters were quite a thing and a trend. In the product description, it says that it is intended for 8 speed, but my cogs are 9 speed. I think it would work just fine. Now for the last and final chance, I'm still going to install this wrong screw if it's really wrong, and yes it is. So I'm going to install the right one. Sounds good and it shifts perfectly well. Now that the other side is fixed, I'm still going to remove and replace this lever. Doesn't have problem at all, but I'm still going to replace this one with a new pair so that it would look neat, clean, and the complete pair would be installed in the bicycle. And so I installed the old pair from the previously installed shifter, which is from the Sunrace, although it looks rusted, but at least it is paired, and the same with the other side. So now basically everything is just plain installation and taking off the previous cable and reuse it because it's still in good condition. So I'm trying hard for every build, not only with this bicycle, in every parts that I will not be able to create a lot of waste. So I'm trying to repurpose and reuse whatever is parts that are available so that it will not go out into the waste bin. And having this holistic approach and being an advocate for the environment's protection, which is the reason why also we come into this field of cycling, why we practice cycling, because it produces and avoids the emission of carbon. But not just the environment would benefit from it. Your physical, mental, and overall state would greatly be enhanced when biking. And cycling is fun.